And we're live. Welcome back to the LOOPcast. It's Tom, Erika, and Josh. The LOOPcast, of course, brought to you by The Loop, every American Catholic's favorite morning newsletter. Happy Friday, everyone, especially those here live with us in the chat, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's going to be a great show. We have a lot prepared for you. These are days that I'm really thankful we have a robust, excellent news team. So reports came in that the only Catholic church in Gaza was just struck by an Israeli tank, a shell. And so we are going to provide all angles of that, the event that happened itself, the reactions that prompted all over the Catholic world, including the Pope himself, and Pizza Balla in Jerusalem. We're going to hear from what the IDF has to say. And then we also have some extra reporting on tensions broader in the region, say in the West Bank, based on some original reporting from our own team here. So I'm great to be moderated, I think, by Josh and Erika, who have excellent instincts and taste as well, and our own news team. So I think that's going to be excellent. Also, we are going to be talking about the NPR funding, that entire saga. Don't worry, we have good news. We have Twilight Zone like we do every show. Erika also released another excellent monologue that I'm excited to answer some questions about. And finally, we actually, I'm really thankful to her, Dr. Christina Francis from AAPLOG. She is actually an OBGYN in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So nice to have another Hoosier on the show. She came to talk about the letter that they published and sent to the HHS over mifepristone, the abortion drug, and the type of safety that they want to bring back to women going through that horrible process and around the country. So it's going to be a great full show. We actually don't have any ads, so before we get into
well, and just you said AAPLOG, we should just let people know we're talking about the American Association of Pro-Life OBGYNs.
Yes, and just the
great organization,
salt of the earth type people. I couldn't believe Dr. Christina Francis. What I especially appreciate about her is she works on the ground. Like she works as an OBGYN right now. She's on the board of Hoosiers for Life. I think Indiana Right to Life. She's a fantastic woman. I'm so grateful for her time. It's going to be a quick one, 10 minutes at the end, so stick around for that. But now we get into the news here. So coming in yesterday, the only Catholic church in Gaza was struck by a tank shell from an Israeli tank. So we have a picture here just for perspective. I can zoom in a little bit. Here's the church before. And then I have the church after this struck, and it struck right about at the steeple of the cross. This was the picture I saw pretty much everywhere, but if you look on the side profile, pretty much destroyed. Really, go ahead.
The roof, you're saying.
The roof was pretty much destroyed. So the attack killed 3 people and injured the parish priest, Father Gabriel Romanelli. He's a friend of Pope Francis. They talked about it a lot, but they had him on regular FaceTime towards the end of Pope Francis's life. So immediately pray for the repose of the soul of these fellow Christians living in Gaza. The exact story is an Israeli tank struck Gaza's only Catholic parish, Holy Family Parish, July 17th, killing 3, injuring several others. The strike triggered strong reactions from several world leaders, including President Donald Trump and Pope Leo himself. For perspective, Christians in the Holy Land are about 2% of that population, very small. So Pope Leo, we hear from pretty much immediately. I'm deeply saddened to learn of the loss of life and injury caused by the military attack on the Holy Family Catholic Church in Gaza. I assure the parish community of my spiritual closeness. I commend the souls of the deceased to the loving mercy of Almighty God and pray for their families and the injured. I renew my call for an immediate ceasefire. Only dialogue and reconciliation can ensure enduring peace. And then we quickly get from Pizza Balla. He's the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem. Actually, many were saying he was a favorite to be Pope. I personally am glad he is where he is. I think he's very needed. New statement, quote, strongly condemns this targeting of innocent civilians and of a sacred place. The Patriarch said 3 people have now died, 9 are wounded. He actually later was interviewed this morning. He actually went to the church. They had mass in the church, and he's currently in Gaza, but he was interviewed by an Italian newspaper. And I thought at this point, gloves are really off. He's really saying a lot of strong words. So authoritative voice that rose high against the horror of massacre of civilians in Gaza, cracked by bitterness yesterday. We are very worried about the injured, and there are still some serious ones in hospitals, can't do much. Before launching an appeal, it's time to stop this war, and has always been absurd and is even more senseless. Today, they affected Christians, but every day, dozens of people still die on the Strip. How is this? And then he was asked, how has the situation changed since the beginning of the Israeli occupation of the Gaza Strip? It's gotten a lot worse. In what respect? Both from the point of view of military conflict and the destruction of homes and property, but above all, because of hunger. There's a lot of it. There's a lack of hospitals. There's also very little water. You haven't thought for a moment, is it time to leave? He answered, absolutely not. We stay, whatever happens. Next question. There are those in Italy who are calling for the cooperation treaty with Israel to be suspended. Do you think these political initiatives that can help? I don't know. I'm a friar. The necessary pressure must be put in place to bring about the end of the war. Is it optimistic? Should be. I am a man of faith. I have hope. Wow. Very strong statements. I'll round out before we get into more comprehensive coverage. So you actually got a statement from President Trump himself, and then it was delivered by Caroline Leavitt. So here's when asked about what happened. This is how the response was.
Struck by an
Oh, and go ahead.
Good afternoon, Caroline. In Gaza today, Holy Family Catholic Church was struck by an Israeli shell.
Yes.
3 people were killed, 10 wounded. What is the president's reaction to that church coming under fire?
It was not a positive reaction. He called Prime Minister Netanyahu this morning to address the strikes on that church in Gaza, and I understand the Prime Minister agreed to put out a statement. It was a mistake by the Israelis to hit that Catholic church. That's what the Prime Minister relayed to the President, and you should look at the Prime Minister's statement. That will be.
So I do actually have a statement from the IDF at this point. I do, again, want to be comprehensive, share all sides here. Statement from Prime Minister's office. Israel deeply regrets that a stray ammunition hit Gaza's Holy Family Church. Every innocent life lost is a tragedy. We share the grief of families and the faithful. We are grateful to Pope Leo for his words of comfort. Israel is investigating the incident and remains committed to protecting civilians and holy sites. Any thoughts, gang? I got more context I can add.
Well, I mean, I would hope it's a mistake, because if you were intentionally targeting a Catholic church in Gaza, your government deserves to fall. I mean, it's like it would be so atrocious. There's a lot of Catholics across the country and the world who are just thinking to themselves, like, this is the leader of a country who's our friend. How does this stuff happen? Mm-hmm. You know, it's the only church in the entire area, the only Catholic church in the entire area of Gaza, and it gets hit by a tank shell. Like, come on, guys. And like, here's the thing. This is the kind of stuff that you'd expect maybe 30 years ago. You know, you could but like with precision instruments these days, it's that much harder, I think, to have these mistakes. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not a military expert, so it doesn't look good at all.
Yeah. I mean, the IDF is, and I've defended Israel on this program for they are known for they boast that they are the most precise military in the world. And you think of like their attack at the cell phones, right? Last year when Mossad went in, they got the cell phones, and the whole narrative there was, we are so good at this, we're going to minimize the loss of civilian life. We're doing cell phones, so we're only going to, harm or kill or maim actual terrorists because we did this operation. And then you see something like, well, this was a mistake from a tank. Like the tank was like 200 yards away. Do we even know yet? And it's hard to understand how that is possible. Same with the missile strike. I believe a church last year, was it a Greek Orthodox church?
It was Saint Porphyrius.
Yeah, Porphyrius. Yeah, they were. Yeah, here I see it.
Porphyrius, it killed 18 and injured many. It's one of the oldest Christian
churches.
You
can kind of say, okay, well, with a missile, from a long-range missile, something happens, the wind blows, I don't know, it goes off by a few hundred yards or whatever. But I mean, an on-site tank that's on the ground, I mean, come on, guys, this is not.
And I'm going to get into the statements on the settler violence that, I mean, in this interview with Pizza Balla, he said people on the ground do not believe this is a mistake. That's just what he's hearing from being there today, literally there. It's hard to really imagine that this is a mistake at this point.
For just a second, like, it would be one thing for a church leader to think that. It's quite another for him to say it out loud.
Yeah.
That was pretty striking in my mind.
Yeah, and I'm honestly grateful. People were talking about him being Pope. I'm glad that he's right where he is. This is clearly a man of courage and tact, and it's not an easy situation to be there. I will say, as someone that's been critical on this program of the IDF and Israel and the actions specifically in Gaza, they do. I don't dispute they have the right to defend themselves, and I am sympathetic in the need to respond to the horrific terrorist attack propagated by Hamas. It is completely unacceptable to bomb churches. and holy sites. And I would say I'm actually happy in some ways because I myself kind of have my own moments of discovery through different news events. And of course, the fog of
Right.
war is tough to get through. But when I kind of came around to the reality of the situation that's going on there, it's now hard for me to say I saw online people seeing that this Catholic church was hit and killed 3 people and injured the pastor and said, well, this is Hamas's fault. This is all Hamas's fault. First, the reaction should be, I'm really sad that a church was bombed and that people died in their worshiping. That's really the first thing that needs to be said. And the other thing too is I was going through to try to understand more of the context. There's 117 religious sites that were reportedly damaged. The BBC came back and verified that this is in 2024, mind you, 74 of these mosques had been destroyed. Now, am I also sympathetic that, yeah, people could be hiding under there, they could be tunneled or whatever? Yeah, it's completely unacceptable. And we've all agreed in the Geneva Accords to bomb holy sites.
Not to
and
bomb
especially if there are innocent, not to bomb them. It's unacceptable. It's not acceptable if it's a Catholic church, if it's a mosque, it does not matter. If innocent people are in there, if someone were to take hostages in a school, you don't blow up the school with the kids inside of it. It's unacceptable. It's unbecoming of a developed nation to conduct warfare in that way. So I think this is really, really, Pope Leo called Netanyahu. I'm seeing this. This is going to be one of the first, I think, of events that hopefully really change public perception to how this war is being taken out, the war against Hamas, and that it needs to be conducted in a civil way. And what we saw today wasn't civil, and it rightfully should enrage Catholics and Christians all.
Yeah, I agree on that. I think public perception has shifted. I think I would say it's actually like mainstream now at this point in the war between, starting with October 7th and moving to now. I think that the sympathies with Israel that were obviously like very justified in the aftermath of October 7th. I would say like at this point, it's already mainstream to be more that Gaza is the victim. The mainstream media has that, basically if you're a leftist, if you're a Democrat, that's already what you said, or what you've sort of accepted as what's going on here. What I hope, like you said, is that this pushes it to the point where the United States, and Mike Huckabee came out with, he's the ambassador in Jerusalem, right? He came out with strong statements following violence against Palestinians in the West Bank as well, which we've been covering those stories over the last couple of weeks. But that the United States can start to say something like, okay, like we are allies, we are helping you, we do want to destroy Hamas, but here's what can't happen, right? Like we have to come out with very strong statements, and hopefully the Israelis can respond. Oh, Tom left. Oh, now he's on the right. And
I guess
he just wanted to change seats, and now I'm on the. Whoa, this is like musical chairs here.
Now I'm back.
Go
ahead.
So yeah, I agree that I hope that this is a turning point in the kind of pressure that we can bring to bear. The thing that makes me absolutely nauseous just reading this story, other than, first of all, the loss of life, second of all, the targeting of the house of God, but thirdly, just the temperature is so hot over there right now. And like hearing Pizzabola come out, like you said, Josh, hearing a churchman come out and say something like, I don't know if this was deliberate or not, right? Like that's not what we're saying on the ground. The temperature is just so high there. And I think it's hard for us to sit here in the United States in our air conditioned homes, like drinking our coffee in the morning, watching footage like this, to understand, to even grasp that on both sides of this conflict, like you have the Israelis who suffered the October 7, who have been listening for decades since the Ayatollahs took over to Iran, a much larger country. They have 10 times the population, say something like, we want to destroy Israel and eradicate it from the earth. And not only that, but start 3 or 4 proxy wars. Oh, Tom left again. He's mad about what I'm saying. All right. But start all these proxy wars through Hamas, through Hezbollah, through what's the third one? The Houthis, right down in Yemen. So you have this existential threat going on there and living through that for 40 years. And then you have the way that Israel has reacted to October 7th. I don't think we can grasp for any side really to make a judgment in a way on what's going on, what it's like.
I just think that we should push back at like sort of absolutist or binary thinking, Okay, so
100%.
here's one of the things about fanaticism. The reason why fanaticism is so pernicious is that it can even corrupt its opponents, right?
Mhm.
So like, in World War II, we were faced with like demonically evil Nazi Germany under Adolf Hitler's leadership, and also like almost like suicidal imperialism of Japan. And when you see what Japan had done to prisoners of war and that kind of stuff, like
Yeah.
take no prisoners, they're just horrible, evil people. You're like, we have to do something. Like, I would talk to my grandfather, one of the gentlest souls I ever met, and I'm sure that he's in heaven. I mean, I'm praying for the repose of his soul. And I'd ask him about, whether or not it would be okay to use the nuclear bomb on civilian targets like we did in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I'm convinced it was immoral, but I wasn't going to lecture my grandfather. He served in the Navy. He was in the Pacific theater there. He was on a destroyer, and he would talk about it, like how evil the enemy was. And so I have to, like there's that humility you have to take to any situation and understand that. So like, here's what I would say. I think there's a lot of people in this country that just have known for the last 50, 60, 70 years that there are fanatical, evil Islamic extremists who want to kill every single Jew they ever see. They want to get rid of the state of Israel. They want to wipe it off the face of the earth. They want to wipe it off the map. They publicly claim this. They don't like, it's not like a hidden secret.
Right.
And therefore you think, Israel's like, this is a massive existential threat. We had millions of our people killed in Nazi Germany, and now we finally have our own homeland, and they want to wipe us off the map. So they feel like anything is justified, and I can understand why they think that, but that's actually not true. Just because you're dealing with fanatical evil doesn't mean you're allowed to do whatever you want to do. And so here's what gets to be frustrating about this. When Christians say, hey, listen, wait a minute. These actions by the Israeli government are not justified. Just because, what the attack on October 7th was evil and malicious and an atrocity doesn't mean you can wipe away like tons of people. Like, I'm sorry, there are still basic rules of warfare.
You can't bomb churches.
You can't bomb churches. You can't
kill
people.
50,000 women and children.
So what frustrates me is when Christians then speak about this kind of stuff and say, whoa, the Israeli government is losing the plot here. They're going way too far. They're still just war principles. And so in some people's minds here in the United States, they're like, wait a minute. Are you're against the Israeli government? What are you for? These fanatically evil Islamic
you're an anti-Semite
murderers? It's like, oh, okay, wait a minute now. No, I'm not. I'm like, you can be against this bloodthirsty and maniacal fanaticism that wants to kill every Jew ever and still say, gee, some of these actions the Israeli government is doing in response is unjustified. Some of it is justified, but some of it is not.
Mm-hmm.
Like nuance. Don't be afraid of it.
And I think
two things can be true
binary,
at once.
like thinking.
Right.
Walk
Two
and
things
chew
can be
gum.
true at once, and that's why I really love like the news team here and talking to you guys, because I feel like we're able to have productive conversation about it, and it's so obvious online that most people have been so severely propagandized and then also affected by the ability of social media to just pop off immediately and say something that's completely nonsensical and not helpful. I will say at this point in time, some other things to be made aware of here. So we had some original reporting from the Catholic Vote team here. Priests of West Bank's only remaining all-Christian town issue urgent appeal against Israeli settler violence. And so we have the letter down here. It's signed by the three heads. So that is the Latin Church, the Greek Orthodox Church, and the Melkite, Melkite Greek Catholic Church. They raised their voices on behalf of the people of our town and parishioners to strongly condemn the ongoing and grave series of attacks targeting Taiba. And so actually our team went and talked to some people on the ground there. And so one of these villages that have been getting attacked on the West Bank by Israeli settlers is this town of Taiba, 10 miles north of Jerusalem. Taiba is 100% Christian. This is from Nadine Corey, told Catholic Vote via phone on Friday, a resident of Taiba. Corey is the founder of Taiba Brewery, colloquially known as Taiba Beer. Quote, last month, they went inside 14 homes and broke the doors while people were sleeping, Last harvest, they didn't allow people to go to their groves to harvest their olive oil. Last week, he went on, settlers brought sheep to graze on the crops of hardworking locals, ruining their businesses. They, quote, ate all the wheat and barley that the farmers were growing on the mountains of Taiba. Wednesday night, he went on, they broke into people's homes to kick them out. And when the residents resisted, attackers burned the homes. There's nothing we can do. It's a peaceful village, very quiet. I have a family tree of 600 years in Taiba. I'm not going to leave. For people curious on some footage of these attacks, it's all over social media at this point, but yeah, horrific. Burned cars, people going into homes. It's really hard to watch. But serious violence going on in mostly Christian Taiba on the West Bank. We also have a 20-year-old Palestinian American was reportedly killed July 11th in an alleged attack by Israeli settlers on the West Bank, prompting his family in Florida to demand a formal investigation by the U.S. State Department. His name is Saif Musalat. He's a U.S. citizen. He's born in Tampa. He was beaten to death, reportedly by Israeli soldiers near the village of Sinji at the Holy Land, according to multiple reports. He was beat to death by clubs, and then they blocked medics from reaching him. Hours after the beating, his brother tried to take him to an ambulance, and the victim died before arriving at the hospital. From the family, quote, "This is an unimaginable nightmare and injustice that no family should have to face," the family said. "We demand the U.S. State Department lead an immediate investigation and hold the Israeli settlers who killed Saif accountable for their crimes." So at this point, this is just reporting from us. I think I'm happy that the Pope and Pizza Baller are leading on this. We need a peaceful resolution in that region, and it has to come from somewhere. They even were asking Pizza Baller. He's like, I'm a friar, but I understand that injustice is happening here and that people need to raise their voices. And I'd like the United States to be a part of that. My issue too is that shell most likely came from the United States. And it's simply, you can't just close your eyes and say that we're not involved here. We very much fund the military of the IDF and allow them to act with the impunity that they act currently. If anything, that should mean we should hold higher sway over how they conduct their warfare. And we need to call them on that. It's that simple. We are complicit in this by way, and we should be able to say, hey, if this continues, you're done.
Called him, and
we're not giving you
him
anything.
The Riot Act, and I hope Secretary of State Marco Rubio also puts the squeeze on this, because we expect better.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely expect better. So if everyone could just pray for that region and pray for both sides. Like if the funny thing about all this, as critical as I've been of the IDF, if this was happening to Israelis right now, say if Palestinians were going over in settlements and burning houses and murdering citizens, as we condemned the October 7th stuff, same way, if we hit a Catholic church in Israel, if someone did, I'd be condemning it too. So I think the problem with the conversation is the nuance isn't applied. It's very hard line one side or the other. And I think it just, as Josh said, creates radicals on both sides. And it's just going to continue creating that unless we can have an open conversation. And I really like, for example, I did that interview with Jason Jones, who's there as a Catholic on the ground serving the people, trying to get them food because they've been starved out. And it's through the lens of human dignity that we view this situation. And guess what? If you're Muslim, you have human dignity. If you're Jewish, you have human dignity. The Catholic anthropology should lead here and treat everyone in the region with dignity and not just excuse barbarism from both sides. So it's relevant to keep up. I highly recommend subscribing to The Loop. We've done a fantastic job, I think, trying to moderate both sides, trying to come forward with the best reporting we can have to offer, because I also will say it is hard to verify reporting coming from both sides because it's funded in large part by both sides of the issue. So
the
to try to get to the bottom is a hard
Trump
thing.
term, we saw progress in having other countries like Qatar and UAE recognize
with the Abraham
Israel.
Accords.
I just hope that Trump and Rubio can, again, exert their diplomatic influence here and try to bring about some sort of peace. So let's hope.
Yeah. Erika, now if you can get into NPR and PBS.
I woke up this morning.
But my video and audio.
Okay,
is
sounds
so
good.
I'm
All right,
drop
so
out,
I
just
woke up
continue
this
on
morning
that.
to great news on the entertainment front. One, this is just an aside. The late night show with Stephen Colbert is going to be canceled. No more, kaposh, as of next May. So that's just a little. But we also
Beautiful.
isn't it great news?
You know who lamented that?
Oh,
the official
was that?
chaplain of the Stephen Colbert show.
Yes. Father James Martin is sad that the voice of Stephen Colbert, which brings such education to the American people, will be no more. And I say, Chef's kiss. So no more Colbert, and NPR, PBS are screaming that we won't have Elmo either. So, it's just a great day. It's going to be awesome. But here we go. Here's the story. A 5-decade-long battle ended this week as the Senate voted to claw back $1.1 billion in funds to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, starting with over $500 million cuts in just the next year, which includes, of course, NPR and PBS. A little backstory, because I have Josh here and the two of us together, which is going to become a history show. PBS and NPR were created in 1967. Year that many great things happened, right? Not. Its creation was spurred along by the declaration of Newton and Minow, who was the chairman of the FCC during the Kennedy administration. And they were complaining, they were trying to address the problem that the competition for ratings and ad dollars had turned television into, quote, a vast wasteland of game shows, formula comedies about totally unbelievable families, blood, and thunder. And so Minow, he besieged broadcasters to make, quote, this is just so progressive liberal, make a conscientious good faith effort to serve the public interest with higher quality fare subsidized by the taxpayer. His followed by an influential study on, quote, educational television from the Carnegie Corporation. It concluded that the federal government should finance a system of stations to produce programming that was of human interest and importance, with regard for the free market incentives of ratings, without regard for the free market incentives of ratings or ad revenue. Because those stupid people don't know what's good for them. It's like the cornflakes of the entertainment world. We got it, PBS. The Johnson administration did just that, in line with its Great Society program, which was just another awesome idea coming out of the late 60s. Immediately, the Nixon administration comes in. Josh, you're a fan of the Nixon administration in some ways, many ways. And Pat Buchanan, who was working for them, was like, this is a terrible idea. Cut it off. End it. Don't do it. But obviously, we just couldn't stop ourselves. So now we have cut off the funding, and I would like to just characterize for you a little bit the journey of grief that the Corporation for Public Broadcasting has gone through.
Please.
It began with denial, right?
Would you like some like sad music under this?
Yeah, can we get a little bit of a soundtrack going here? We need.
Yeah,
Simon.
do you have any like
Simon's
a tiny violin we could get going?
Yeah. All right, start
All
playing
right,
the
tiny
violin.
violin's going. Go for it.
So first of all is denial, right? The first messaging was, we don't care. Take away our funding. Our federal funding is only like 1% of our programming anywhere. And just a reminder for everyone in the chat, I looked this up because we covered it in 2023. NPR and PBS left Twitter in protest.
Oh, yes, I remember this.
Remember? And why did they leave in protest? Do you remember, Josh?
Because Elon Musk had identified NPR and PBS on Twitter with a little marker saying state-affiliated media, because they get subsidies from the federal government. And boy, oh boy, did the journos hate that.
They did. And in fact, they protested that their funding was so trivial that this designation was unfair and inaccurate. So that was the first
Take it away, boys.
They're like, fine, it's not a big deal. Yeah, we're singing our sad song. So then it turned to, just kidding, this is terrible. Give us our money back because you're destroying us by removing our federal funding, which quickly pivoted to, people are going to die because lives depend on access to NPR.
Wait a second.
You just got to play this one.
Hold
this is
up.
Chuck Schumer on the Senate floor.
Man, historically popular Chuck Schumer right now.
Yeah, I think
so
it's 19%.
Government money.
I mean, it is kind of nice, right? I mean, I wish I got free money.
I mean,
see Republicans just axed educational programming. When people see Republicans just axe Sesame Street to pay for tax cuts to billionaires, when rural Americans see Republicans not just betrayed them and defunded public radio, sometimes the only source in rural areas so vital to natural disasters, and it's the only news source there.
What does he think?
Consequences will be severe. Americans will remember.
Wait, do you remember when was it the governor of New York said black people couldn't figure out laptops?
right.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Because they couldn't vote?
Similar to brown people can't get government IDs because
They have all these old talking points. I mean,
oh my
like,
gosh.
you're gonna kill Big Bird. Oh, people in rural areas rely on public radio. But what about Mr. Rogers? It's like, you know what? We know you've been pushing out a bunch of rainbow filth. If I want to watch rainbow filth for kids, I can go onto YouTube and watch Ms. Rachel or whatever her name is.
Oh,
Josh.
shots fired at Miss Rachel. Love
Josh.
it.
I just
Josh.
don't care.
You don't care about the rural Americans. I was concerned. Chuck Schumer alarmed
I
me.
live in rural America.
So I know. I grew up in rural America.
I have
you ever
high-speed
heard
internet.
AM
Chuck.
radio? Oh my gosh. But so I did my research. I did do my research and I went and I looked it up.
All right.
Perplexity. What was that? Perplexity. Yes. How many rural Americans own smartphones? Turns out currently 71% of rural Americans own smartphones. How many have access to high-speed internet? 77.4%. This is from the NIH too. No friend of.
Wait, and also,
conservative.
could we also get an initiative
But-
to like give people less smartphones? I think we'd all be better off if we had less.
Yes, but if you have,
know.
if 77% of rural Americans have access to high-speed internet, you don't need NPR.
You don't need it. And in fact, so I looked into this. I was like, NPR, and they're so concerned right now about rural Americans' access to high-speed internet. I was like, gosh, I wonder what they thought about Pete Buttigieg's failure to spend the $42 billion on getting access to them. So I went and I looked that up too. Look at NPR's coverage. They did an exit interview with Pete Buttigieg back on January 12th. And I was like, they must have really hammered him on this, right? NPR exit interview with Pete Buttigieg. Not once did they bring up the fact that he had failed to bring high-speed internet to
Wow.
Americans with 42 billion. So they really obviously didn't actually care about this, but I digress. I also noticed that the coverage of this failed to mention how many people actually are listening to NPR and watching PBS. None of the reports from the New York Times gave me a hard number. None of the reports from CNN or MSNBC gave me a hard number. So I went back and looked at NPR. NPR editor-in-chief Edith Chapin reported last year in 2024, more than 2/3 of our broadcast audience is over 45. And for more than 5 years, the only age demographic that has grown in that audience are those over 65. Listeners have held steady at NPR at just under about 1 million a week for the last 7 years.
That's for
Here's-
all their
Here's
shows.
the
And
thing
they're all
about this.
aging.
What drives me so crazy about
Yeah.
this is that if you didn't have total communists working at all these organizations, they could have done merchandising deals that were actually beneficial to themselves, and they could
Yes.
fund all the crap they're doing with this Tickle Me Elmo toys, and they'd be fine. There's
Yeah.
they have no need for government dollars. But again,
Exactly.
why would the thing is, government money is an addiction, and when you get it, it's so hard to say no. It's just like free money. Who doesn't love free money? So these people are crazy. I just sent you a link here. They're asking, the CEO of NPR was saying, well, what do you find so objectionable? Tell me what it is.
This
And
is
our
great.
good friends at Susan B. Anthony listed, yeah, I can
Oh
tell
my
you.
gosh.
Oh,
NPR airing audio of a woman having an abortion.
unbelievable. So dark.
I feel like so. This is okay, Josh. Explain this to me. Explain this to me. I thought we already hashed this all out when NPR said, "Hey, we're not going to cover the Hunter Biden laptop story because it's not worthy of coverage," or when the whistleblower came forward and said, "Every member of our editorial team is a Democrat. There's no Republicans on it. It's not bipartisan at all." And how many insane stories about just eating bugs and like ridiculous gay stuff do we need to bring up? Is it just like you just have to do this at this point, right? Like you
Here's
just
the
have to
funny
be
thing.
so shameless and be like, we are the lifeblood after
Dude, no,
saying we
the
don't
best
need you,
part,
now we need you.
Tom, they were debating this stuff, and someone was like, hey, wait a minute, NPR, we had William F. Buckley on here for so many years. Dude, the last time he was on the show was 1999.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to go back 25
We're so fair and
years.
balanced. What
Give
was the
me a
stat?
break.
The stat on Morning
That was
Wire.
last century.
Right. Yeah. The stat on Morning Wire, someone went in and did a ratio comparison of the number of times that NPR uses the term far right and far right extremist versus the number of times they identified someone as far left or far left extremist. It was a 1 to 42. Oh, 42 to 1. So it's 42 to 1. So for every 42 times they talk about far right, in which they include like JD Vance as far
Me?
right. Right, you're far right. Like
Anyone who goes to the gym,
Anyone that would like
they
a secure
mentioned far
border?
left once.
anyone who likes to eat meat.
Yeah, you like me.
yeah.
Oh,
You like
yeah, I
working
found you
out?
that headline, Josh. I found Josh's favorite headlines. NPR's obsession with the John the Baptist diet. This was like in the last 10 years, they've run I don't know how many, like 25 stories on why we should be eating insects and not beef in the United States. And you're just like,
Praying the rosary. Far right.
oh, far
Well,
right.
I mean, of
Eating
course, they like
far
to
right.
on the back side
Far right.
vote Christianity to get us to submit to their regime.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they use your views, as a skin. They conquer you. I hate it. So these people deserve nothing but to be laid off. And I just think we just don't hate journalists enough. I mean, like, for example, you have that story. Didn't we talk about on the last episode about the Coldplay concert where the
We did not talk about the
We did
Coldplay
not.
concert.
Okay, it went crazy viral over the internet the last few days. This guy, the CEO of this company, is at a Coldplay concert, and he's got his arms around this woman. It looks like they're
It was bad.
their girlfriend, boyfriend, or maybe they're married. Oh, they are definitely married. They're married to other people.
Other people.
And it's just like, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a kind of a, this blew up, of course, on the internet. And actually the good thing about it was that people were like, upset, rightly shaming them. Like, how could you do that? Like, but here's the thing, guys, I'm telling you why you don't hate journalists enough, because of course, journalists will support and sponsor the most heinous things. Here we go. This is from, was it last year? I just want us to tell you that you don't hate journalists enough. From the New York Magazine, we had this article last year. In defense of adulterers.
Oh my gosh.
I gotta say, Josh, taking the other end on this, that's a great headline.
It is a
Got you.
applicable. Oh my goodness.
Swans.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
just so bad.
obviously, you're like, oh, it's clickbait, but no, I
Clickbait.
mean, she actually was right.
It was really defending adultery.
Oh, totally stupid. But isn't the whole crux of this is like, okay, the New Yorker mag, if they can fund their weird activities and headlines, then fine. Like, there's a cottage industry for people that really want the hard takes from the New York mag. Great, but
I just think we need to remember what is the job of reporters? To cover the news with a pillow until it dies. That's the whole point. I mean, like, what I'm getting at with this is like, I feel like quoting the great General William Tecumseh Sherman. Sorry, you Southerners. He said, if I had a choice, I would kill every reporter in the world. But I am sure we would be getting reports from hell before breakfast.
okay, actually, on that point, Josh, Stephen Colbert showdown.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I was doing that
Yeah,
while
we
you were
mentioned that
gone.
when
We
you were-
mentioned
yeah.
that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, you
you're good.
missed it.
So it's not just NPR, of course, irrelevant. The Stephen Colbert show, completely irrelevant. This used to mean something. Some people are saying, oh, it's like the Jon Stewart effect because he actually was talented and came up with interesting takes. All interesting.
Jon Stewart you're right, is the
Talented.
turning point on all this, because the thing is, he still understood effective comedy and effective laughs, and he was the hinge point. He changed it into being point and shame and mock and laugh, not real actual humor. And he was able to. He still knew enough of the old school kind of humor. He was very effective. I remember him doing a set on Saturday Night Live like 15, 20 years ago on gay marriage. And I remember thinking, this is so funny and so disastrous. But then the comics after him have no talent. They don't have the understanding. They don't have the skill set. And so Stephen Colbert, Seth Meyers, Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon's actually funny when it comes to doing like a musical lip sync stuff, but actual comedy he's not. Yeah. And so none of these guys are good. And all of them are toasted. I mean, like, you're right. This used to be a massive deal. Like when I was growing up, I was like, okay, who's gonna pass Carson? Is it gonna be Letterman? Is it gonna be Leno? There's all these fights. No one cares anymore. Yeah. Greg Gutfeld gets more traffic, more audience, more eyeballs on his show on a cable news TV station than all these guys.
So interesting. Like, and I'm not even a Gutfeld guy personally, probably because of my age, but I'm not saying he's bad. I just don't know anything about him. All relevant journalism. Like there's this guy who's Andrew Callahan, Channel 5 News. It's funny. He made that as a joke basically, but he goes himself with like two guys and he covers all the biggest events going on in the country. He's pretty open about his bias. He grew up in the Pacific Northwest. He's probably more liberal, but he's extremely talented and it's hard to dispute. He's going to the ground and talking to people. Who are
you talking about?
His name's Andrew Callahan, Channel 5 News. And he's got very much like my era of journalism where he's got a ton of humor. he somehow finds a freestyle rapper everywhere he goes. Like he's covering Israel. He was in Israel and found a freestyle rapper. It's crazy. But he covered the Israel-Iran situation, in my opinion, with a lot more honesty and integrity than most major news networks. Or, for example, late night shows that people aren't watching anymore. Like it's journalism simultaneously is easier than ever and harder than ever, because it's easier for anyone to just get a camera, a phone. You can go with your phone and you could put something together creatively, and you have the means to get it in front of thousands of people. So that to me is why Tucker made a smart pivot. I'm not sure if it's on purpose, but he moved to podcast, to YouTube, and he doesn't even have internet connection. He just does what he wants and throws it out there. And at nothing else, I can tell it's honest, or he really believes what he's saying.
But he's had a few clunky months here, but
he's honest. That's the thing. It's all about honesty as a currency. Does anyone think Stephen Colbert's honest?
No, Stephen Colbert is the ultimate stenographer for the regime. I mean, like, remember the Vax scene? He's
oh my gosh, I'll never forget it.
These guys are pathetic.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the idea is that they're supposed to be a court jester that would poke fun at everybody, but they wouldn't go too risky, of course, because they don't want to, it's still a business. But they were, they're supposed to be the court jester that would make fun of both sides or whatever, and it would be playful, But this time, they become partisan. They're like, they just point and attack at conservatives.
And it's not playful, it's vicious. It is absolutely vicious.
Democrats and Republicans both would watch Johnny Carson.
Let me push back on your Tucker comment briefly, because I somewhat agree. There's been two I've listened to where I was like, these people are slime balls and untrustworthy. George Santos, one of them for sure.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't even get through the first 20 minutes. I'm like, you spent $800 of campaign finances on Botox. Like, yeah, I'm done listening to you. Yeah. And then the other one was, he was like a car guy, and I got a slimy feeling from him. But at least I have the opportunity to make that assessment. And I believe that Tucker's operating in good faith of just being curious and asking questions. Like, he interviewed the president of Iran. How have we not in the Western world heard from the president of Iran, who was translated over to us? And do I believe everything he says? No. But it's actually important kind of like contextual information to be like, what is the president of Iran signaling to the American people through Tucker? And do you believe it?
I just sometimes we like, I just like that he's authentic. Okay, sure. I mean, authenticity is better than fakeness. Stephen Colbert is the ultimate in fakeness. I give you that. Yeah. But like the fakeness authenticity scale isn't the only thing. Like, I mean, I felt like Tucker was contributing much more to the conversation when he was at Fox, and like, instead of just interviewing every single rando. I mean, I don't know.
I 100% disagree with that. I think his reach is much bigger. He's much more influential with younger people. I never watched Tucker before he went independent.
Well, anyway, we're talking about Stephen Colbert and we're talking about NPR, and I just think that, by the way, the Stephen Colbert announcement is interesting in the fact that, like, the institution of late night talk show is totally
they're not replacing.
You should save that as your Twilight Zone about Shane Gillis or whatever. So we'll get into that later. But like, here's an example. Somebody was saying, well, why doesn't, if CBS had real cojones, they would basically go to Shane Gillis and say, take over. Take over the show. And I'm like, that would be a move, but I still think all these institutions are going to
my take is they wouldn't do it.
Hosts are all going to die.
Right. They wouldn't do it. But my other take is they don't have any leverage anymore, because Shane Gillis has the ability to reach a larger audience than CBS right now today than CBS ever could. So what do they have to offer?
Why would I do that? Right.
What do they have to offer Tucker? Same thing. He has a bigger audience than Fox probably. And he could get on Fox. His numbers are probably bigger across the board. So there's no reason. That's why you see with people even like speculating about the Daily Wire model, or just like companies that have big personalities. Megyn Kelly leaving, for example, they can get whatever they want to get out there much quicker, much faster, and in the way they want to. Exactly. Like they don't have a cartel on distribution anymore. So why? Like, you could just be honest and provide a different perspective. And that's why I think you're missing about Tucker.
Not everyone can. I mean, Megyn Kelly, Joe Rogan, some of these people can pull it off. Tucker, well, my contention with him is that some of his people, I think he's brought some clowns on lately, but I like Tucker. I do like Tucker. But my point is, not everyone's going to be able to do that route.
We got to get to the good news. We don't need to get into.
Yeah, Tucker's a lightning rod, but I do think like that's the point because the whole point of my contention about the news cycle and that there's somehow this golden era of Walter Cronkite. He was nonpartisan. He
absolutely.
never.
All
It's
that
total
talk makes me want to
garbage.
vomit.
And it actually is a historical anomaly because there used to be a time when there were two very vocal competing factions of news that represented the parties. They were extensions of the political parties in America.
Right, and everyone
And
knew.
we're getting much closer back to that. Actually,
That's what it was in the 19th century, and the 21st century is much better. This 20th century was, you're right, the total anomaly, and it was in service of the regime. And I hated
totally.
it.
And it justified all kinds of atrocities in terms of war, and then what happened in Vietnam, what happened in Iraq. Like it was bad. I just think overall it was too cozy with the regime. Now it's independent. I think that's a good thing for the country in terms of if you want to be informed about different perspectives. So anyway,
I'm
that's all I
loving the
gotta say.
chat right now. I'm listening to you guys. I'm just watching the chat. You guys are great.
Someone's getting after me on
Yeah.
me listening to Tucker. Yeah, I listen to Tucker sometimes. Jeez, I listen to a lot of different people.
All right.
All right, Erika, what do you got?
So you don't have to. Okay, good news. Oh, I loved this. This was great. I think we did a little like clip for Instagrammers or something. I'm not on Instagram, but Charlie Kirk hanging out with Michael Knowles, hanging out with Matt Walsh, starting to rub off a little bit.
Evangelicals and but let me first say, I think we as Protestant evangelicals under-venerate Mary. She was very important. She was a vessel for our Lord and Savior. I think that we as evangelicals and Protestants, we've overcorrected. We don't talk about Mary enough. We don't venerate her enough. Mary was clearly important to early Christians. There's something there. In fact, I believe one of the ways that we fix toxic feminism in America is Mary is the solution. Have more young ladies be pious, be reverent, to be full of faith, slow to anger, slow to words at times. Mary is a phenomenal example, and I think a counter to so much of the toxicity of feminism in the modern era.
There you go.
Toxic femininity, that's true.
Toxic femininity. Mary is the antidote. Thank you, Charlie Kirk. I do love to see one of my separated brethren come over and discover the joy of our Blessed Mother. She is the antidote. She is the go-to. And so, yeah, Charlie, come on in. The water's great.
And by the way,
that
just
fiber.
like Joseph is the right model for men, not Andrew Tate.
Yep. Also a good point. Not Andrew.
Absolutely.
Okay,
nice to see.
so
Josh?
I beat this horse all the time, but it's worth saying again. In 2004, George W. Bush campaigned to try to enshrine in our Constitution that marriage should be between a man and a woman. When he got days before he was sworn into office, he told through his friends and that he was not going to push this at all, even though he campaigned on a federal marriage amendment. He was not even going to ask the Senate to vote on it. It was dead. It was all just a campaign gimmick. It was all just a bunch of crap. Donald Trump, right? He's the philanderer. He's horrible. George W. Bush loves his wife, and he was, gave up alcohol, blah, blah, blah. Donald Trump, for all his personal foibles, is a man who, I know this sounds crazy, lies a lot less than other politicians and delivers on his promises. He says, we're going to get rid of gender affirming surgeries on kids. And what has happened? He's used his administration to say, we're going to cut off federal funds to you guys if you're providing gender mutilation therapies. So the nation's largest gender mutilation factory shut down this last week. Here's the
executive actions protecting American children from irreversible chemical and surgical mutilation. The largest provider of these barbaric practices will now be closing its doors. The facility in Los Angeles, California, is just the latest facility downsizing or eliminating their irreversible and harmful services that feed into the lie that you can somehow change a child's sex. The Biden administration peddled dangerous policies that defied medical science in favor of radical transgender ideology. But President Trump has put an end to that to ensure America's children's innocence is protected and our children can lead healthy and productive lives. Following President Trump's
so
amazing.
Here's what I'm trying to tell you, Christians. There's a lot of Christians and Catholics both who are just like, my vote doesn't matter. Oh, all the politicians are terrible. Baloney. The vote for Donald Trump last November has seen a remarkable change on this policy. The the mutilation of our children is something that's an abominable crime that we allow to happen in this country for way too long. And now we're putting an end to it. This is a very visible way in which your vote in last November made a difference. And it's going to make a difference because if he had lost and Kamala Harris was in there, the money spigot for this kind of stuff would have continued. So many children's lives would have been ruined. And decades later, they'd say, why did you allow this to happen? Where were you? You voted. Catholics voted for President Trump to stop this barbaric stuff. And I'm very thankful for it. Now,
fire me up, Josh.
I'm gonna say this one for the second one for the Twilight Zone.
Okay. I will also say most people, I get a little bit annoyed at that when people are like, well, if Trump would have won, there would have been gay race communism, which I pretty much agree with. As like a diss to shut down the Epstein stuff, which I'm still somewhat frustrated about. But you are correct on that. I think it is good just as a baseline to remember. There's no question we're living in two different Americas if Trump does not win. First off, Trump would be in jail. Our border would still be wide open, most likely.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. And the executive orders, a lot of them fantastic. So, okay, mine's going to be fun. Shout out to Brent Rooker. We got any baseball fans in here? I think he plays for the A's. So he was at the All-Star game feeding his daughter.
Oh, he's got a bottle.
Adorable video.
Little baby girl. There's another one.
His other dog just twirling around. Someone on Twitter said, "Hey Rooker, do you really need to feed your baby on camera? Sometimes people just want to see you play." And he quote tweets it, "Yes, it was necessary to feed my 11th-month-old child her nighttime bottle at like 9 p.m. Thank you for asking." Look at this Chad.
Awesome.
This is a Chad right here. Good for you. I'm a new well, Tigers first, but A's can be second. Moneyball. Shout out Brent Rooker.
That's great.
This
This
has
has been like
seeing
Dad
dads
Week.
in the wild.
Yeah, Dad Week. Man, you guys are awesome. We love it.
Okay. So, also Erika's latest edition of The Deep, which is
Yes.
quickly becoming my favorite series of all time. Here we'll play a little bit
Pogo.
of this. So we'll play it.
This
the
one was
intro for you.
fun. This was really fun. I am a member of the 1%. No, not the yacht owning kind. I mean, I'm a woman who can read. Hear me out. Historically, it is unheard of how privileged modern moms like me are. I grew up in a happy home, married to a guy who still loves and cares for me 22 years later. I've given birth 7 times, and I never even died once. I have antibiotics, I have clean water, free speech if I can keep it. But no, the internet insists motherhood is misery, with snack breaks. Consider this spicy girl boss debate I recently saw. Stephen Bartlett moderated feminists from 2 camps. We have babies are blessings ladies like this one.
It's the most incredible love you'll ever experience in your life.
And the burn everything down and then eat it ladies like that one.
I think when we're talking about rules, we are really in dangerous water.
The claws came out.
No, that's
They
not what,
shouldn't have
no,
come
can I finish?
And as a mom of many kids, this one part in particular stuck out to me and I had to share it with you along with my thoughts.
So quick questions immediately. One, confirmed you haven't died once?
I no, not once. Nope.
Okay.
It's true.
And second question, someone asked, what is your favorite snack that you take?
Okay, so like guilty pleasure snack, I love chocolate chip cookies. I cannot resist the chocolate chip cookie. I mean, I can, but I don't want to.
You know what when the kids make chocolate chip cookies at the house, I always ask for them to make 3 of the cookies without any of the chocolate chips in them so that I can eat those. Because I like chocolate chip cookies without chocolate chips.
That's weird. That's very strange. Isn't that just a sugar cookie at that point with a little vanilla? Like,
Why does anyone
cookies
take
are like the white? I like the
Gosh.
brown? Yeah, the brown.
of all
sugar.
the things you could have said on this show to kill your credibility? Why does anyone take your food thoughts seriously? Are you serious? It's a chocolate chip cookie. Why don't you just call it a cookie?
But
Here's the part where he's gonna.
The chocolate chip cookies, they'll double it up and they're like, we have twice the chips. I actually want half because there's too many. So I'll like 3 or 4 maybe per cookie, but no more.
This is completely besides the point. Thank you for your
I
horrible thoughts on cookie culture. Your thoughts on cookie culture are disgusting. Okay, I had a question I thought would be interesting for you to answer, Erika, here as a little bit of a tease. So someone said, another great episode of The Deep. Thanks, Erika. I agree that we need better social safety nets through family, community, and church rather than the government. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what that actually looks like and ways to cultivate those safety nets.
Yeah, that's a
Any quick
great
thoughts?
question. Yeah, those and what I'm talking about with like those safety nets later on in the video, and those little small communities. I mean, talking very local, like parish communities, very simple. Do you know two other moms in the parish who have kids under 5 years old who aren't in school yet, or you're not homeschooling all day? Like, just get together with them. Say, okay, Tuesday mornings, we're going to like go around different people's houses. You don't even have to like really like these women. You just get to know them, host them in your house, let your kids play with your kids. And
I would hope
well, no,
so.
there's a difference between
Gotta
loving and
start
liking.
somewhere.
You do, exactly. Like,
That's true.
oh, she's just weird. Like she's gonna judge. No, just get together. Like build these little things. Church, a great way to do it. Even
Oh, wait. Can you tell? You throw like
I
ragers
do,
at, like,
yeah.
Project
So
X
the
Catholic
Ahern
ragers
family,
at your house.
yeah, we
So
do
describe them real
ragers,
quick.
and actually, for a time we lived in the same city as the Frads of Matt Frad fame, and he and Cameron at the time were doing these things they called like Open Porch Sunday. So once a month they would do it. Then when we moved away, we were like, that was a great idea. So we try and do this once a month, and we just open up our home, which is not like huge. It's not fancy. It's just your average like middle class home in suburban America. But we just open up to, we have a very large list now of people from the parish or people from work or people from around the town that we've met. And we just say, it's a potluck. And from 4 to 8 p.m. on Sunday afternoon, the house is yours. Bring your kids, bring food to share. And it's become like a great thing. We've been doing it for about 3 years now. We sort of started it when Connecticut was still having COVID lockdowns, and people just need to get together. And over the years, it's morphed, and yeah, we've met great people.
Give me the largest
Okay,
magnitude
so
of one of
the
these
largest
gatherings.
one we had, this was terrible. We had like 160 people show up, but it was bad because it was our Guadalupe party. So we have a Guadalupe party every December. We turn it into celebrate. So it's like Mexican and all this, and Juan Diego. And of the 160, I think like 85 of them were small children. And it's the middle of winter. It was so cold outside. The kids didn't care. So I ended up bringing all my crock pots outside and putting like hot chocolate in them. So the kids are like freezing outside drinking hot chocolate, and the adults, it was great. But it was fun.
Dude, is there a day where we could do Erika potluck Project X
I know.
with all the LOOPcast
I
listeners?
think we
That
just
would be
need to
cool.
crash it.
Just one
And then we
day.
gotta
No,
go
you
there.
can. It's open.
Yeah,
house.
now should we
call
pull
it
up?
second Sunday, even though it's never on the second Sunday of the month. Never works out that way. But yeah, you're all welcome.
I think we
All
can
right.
pull up. Okay. Sweet. Okay. We got Twilight Zone now.
Okay, so
Josh,
you
I
remember
think
that
you go first.
old Jaguar ad that the car manufacturer made?
Sorry,
Yeah,
it's
whatever.
pronounced
Well,
Jaguar.
These new guys don't say it that way. Let me tell you what. They did this ad like last year, and we spoofed it on this. Here's the image of these guys. I mean, like when you're thinking like the ultra rich, super rich people who buy Jaguar, like this is not the kind of client. This is not what they're thinking about. That's not how they see themselves. Well, shocking, I know. Given this was their advertising campaign, Rutraw Reggie. Car manufacturer Jaguar Land Rover has said it's going to axe up to 500 management jobs in the UK through a voluntary redundancy program.
Voluntary redundancy.
Go woke, go broke, guys. What a
Wow.
shocker.
Oh.
What corporate jargon is voluntary redundancy? Is it if you think your job isn't important, you can
It sounds like the
get a package
euphemism
or
you
something?
use to kill your grandma. Like what? What's Canada doing here? What? So there's that. And the second thing is, by the way, we are talking about all this Epstein stuff the last few episodes, and Tom was just outraged because he's Mr. Super Online Gen Z. I get it. But what did I say? I'm not defending all this stuff, but I said it may be just a very online thing, and it may not totally destroy the entire Republican Party into shreds. Roll the tape.
I mean, look, I think this one surprised me a bit because of all these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down with Republicans. If anything, they're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump, look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approve of Republicans. This week out, 90% with Republicans. If anything, Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up since the whole Epstein saga started. He is at the apex or close there too in terms of his popularity with Republican voters. Epstein files complaints.
Now, it keeps going. Hold on.
Prove that not everything
Oh, wait. Oh.
Yes,
in
hey,
real
who
life.
knew? Who knew?
Amazing.
Twitter and X are not reality.
Is there any reason that you can find that this
Watch
hasn't
this.
taken hold and hurt him?
Yeah, I mean, on X, all you hear about is the Epstein files. But how about out in the real public? Republicans who said the top issue was Epstein case. The answer is one, and not 1%. One responded. This is a great little finding that Ariel Edwards-Levy, who of course is part of our poll, found. Just one
Okay,
single.
this you're laughing at. But
Okay.
This is stupid.
I
okay?
know,
Who would
I know,
say it's their
I know.
top?
All right. Just because
All
it's
right.
not your
Quick-
number one issue doesn't mean you don't care about it. Like, for example, a conservative might say their number one issue
Exactly.
is the open border or something like that. That it's not like they don't care about Epstein. That part was kind of funny though. But the fact of the matter is, the polling numbers that he went on to explain over the next 45 seconds or so, we don't have to run it, was that the real problem is Democrats. Like, they're in the toilet with their polling. And so the only thing I had said is that as much as I'm frustrated by Pam Bondi's, promises that were broken and, it's on my desk and all that stuff, I'm not excusing this. I'm not in favor of what they're doing. I'm just saying this idea that it's going to be cataclysmic for Republicans in 18 months. If the Republicans lose the midterms next year, it's not because of this fallout. It'll be because they have a razor-thin majority and Democrats hate Trump and they go out and vote for him. They're Democratic candidates. I just don't think it's going to make that big of an interest. And the polling would suggest that the Oracle is right once again.
Okay, you can take your little CNN poll and you can go to the bank with it. But I think you're generally right, but I still think that the way they responded to all this was terrible.
I do think the response
and I think he is
terrible.
now. He's coming around now, and he's like, well, now I'm pressing Pam Bondi to release certain stuff, and it's like, wait, I thought it was a Democrat hoax. It's like, none of the way he's treated this has made any sense. I think this morning too, they said that he wrote a birthday letter or something. Now they're fighting over that, whether he wrote a birthday
The Wall
letter.
Street
I don't
Journal
believe
reported
that,
it, but they won't show anyone the letter because they don't have it. You're like, wait, what? You think it's real?
Oh man, yeah.
Nothing's real.
Yeah, classic. Then they released the Minnesota shooter letter too, after not releasing it for a while. And he was also saying that I think Tim Walz sent him on a hit to take someone out. And it's like,
Tim.
it's hard to track all this stuff, man. We gotta limit our scope to understanding certain things very well and bring them to you. But there's a lot floating around that I'm just like, I'm like, is this? I'm probably living in a simulation, probably.
Oh, speaking of living in a
Erika.
simulation, I don't know. Well, like Elon has gone off the deep end. The man is not stable. This is not good. So last week we had, are there demons in your chat GPT? And I was talking about and explaining on that deep episode about these AI companions that are being developed. And they are AI agents who are basically like, they talk to other AI systems all over the web. So they're more like this network of agent. Well, I'll just keep saying agents. And the network, then you can decide how you want them to speak to you and appear to you and all that. And Sam Altman is all excited because he's going to have this little device that like lives on a pendant so girls can accessorize with them. So you're going to have a little.
Dude, talk about people I don't
He's
trust.
so
Sam
scary
Altman,
and
he's
yes,
so creepy.
very frightening. Oh, his interview with Ross Douthat that was
creepy.
terrifying. But anyway, going back to this.
Yep.
So anyway, you have this little like device and you're going to have an AI companion that's tailored to your needs. And Elon's like, oh boy, I'm going to get out in front of this and I'm going to introduce Grok companions.
I don't even want to show this on the screen. It creeps me out
Go
so
ahead.
much. But
No.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Do I have to?
Come on, man. This is what
This is
Elon came up with.
Listen,
I am.
Erica's making
I'm
me
the
do
female.
this.
And this is
This
what
is-
he came up with. And
This-
don't scroll
this-
down
this,
because the bottom half of her outfit
yeah.
is absolutely pornographic.
This thing.
And if you
Yeah,
like,
this
I
thing.
watched the whole first thing and he had her like explaining her being this like weird anime sex object is like explaining quantum mechanics in this hypersexualized language. And you're like, this is so creep and so disgusting. But it gives me an opportunity to tell you the difference between two dystopian novels that everyone's been talking about since Joe Biden died on stage. So we had 1984, right? 1984 by George Orwell. And then we have Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. And people are like, they're always citing 1984. They're like, 1984, Big Brother. And yeah, I felt like I was living in 1984, where this whole, like, this overlord beats you with a stick and forces you to do all these things. And Elon Musk himself was constantly tweeting images from the movie 1984, quotes from George Orwell as he was going through the campaign, being like, we have to fight Big Brother. This is 1984. We are living in it. And I was like, yep, probably right. However, Elon is actually creating the Brave New World here, in which the impetus for the one world domination was not this, like, we're beating you over the head and we're infiltrating you and we're making you suffer, but it was Soma, the drug, the drink, that people took, and it was so pleasurable and it made life so bearable that they chose basically like pornified brain over freedom. And that's exactly what the Grok companion is.
Okay, so wait a minute now.
I've never read
thinking,
Brave
so
New World.
I think you've
I need to be on
convinced
it.
me that the dystopia that we have to worry about, Brave New World, is more of a danger than 1984. I think you've got me convinced on that. But what if the real dystopia we have to worry about is idiocracy?
Well, yeah, whenever they're like, oh my gosh,
man.
Elon's such an oligarch, I'm like, no, he's an idiocrat. Like, at this point.
Elon is he's more interesting to me than
No,
that.
he-
I actually do think I have a lot of respect for him, because in a world where, if you go on the Forbes richest people list of the last year, how they made all their money, it's all like finance people. It's all like people, Bill Ackman, like short stocking, whatever. They're just playing financial tricks to make a ton of money, and they don't really contribute a lot, in my opinion, to society. Elon, if you step in a Tesla, it's like walking into an iPhone for the first time. It's really unbelievable. He's made rockets more successful than NASA. Like, NASA can't even get our people off. So he's clearly capable of producing really interesting, innovative, challenging. I don't dispute that he's a genius, but the problem is those people often struggle with understanding humans.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's where you need to moderate him with a guy who's just a bro and has a couple kids with his own wife. And like what are we doing here? You know what I mean? What are we doing here? Like, this is a little
The
bit
plants
too
don't
far.
need
You gotta
electrolytes after all.
combine it with someone who's
Yeah, turns out.
yeah. Also, so I'm just going to drop this bomb and leave it at that. But so interesting developments. Advertisers on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, all across the board, there's been a lot less traffic delivered to these advertisers, like significant amount, over 10%. And they're saying because algorithmic feeds have taken over just about everywhere, there's less, people have retreated on the internet from places that they used to be because they're so inundated with ads. And a place that they used to go before, where it's like, oh, I get shown a couple things from my friends in my feed, that just doesn't happen anymore. And there's a huge uptick in bot activity on these places. So it's like, you're not even sure if the traffic is legitimate or not. It could just come from
So
a
you're
bot
saying they're
somewhere around the
seeing a
country.
reduction in traffic to Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and stuff?
Social media platforms largely, which is just a huge alarm bell for a lot of companies that advertise there. But it suggests to me that there's something called dead internet that they're now bringing up, where people are retreating from those places and they're actually hanging out more in places like Telegram or Facebook Messenger, or places where there can't be like advertisements or stuff put in front of them. And they're trying
Or
to
just
find
brands,
ways to now monetize. Yeah, the brands are trying to find ways to get into those spaces because that's where people are. So there could be a scenario where the internet, as we understand it now, like even for the example, the AI bot, like the AI bot goes to places you would have gone before, finds information tailored to you and brings it back to you. So you're actually not even really ever on the site. So it's really changing internet traction and how people capture attention. And that has like consequences, not just for advertisers, but for politicians, for anyone that's trying to get people's attention, is really rapidly changing fast, like really fast. I'm seeing a lot of that right now. So I don't know where all this is going. Probably Brave New World, as Erika said, but yeah, very interesting developments on all those fronts. I have one final thing. It's Shane Gillis at the ESPYs. So, okay, full story of the Shane Gillis at the ESPYs. I had so many people send it to me, like the morning after, different clips from it, that I had to go find the full thing. And it was actually really hard to find the full thing. I imagine because ABC is a little bit embarrassed. And it was funny about it. It was hysterical. It was actually funny. And to the ESPYs credit, I'd never watched or cared about the ESPYs before Shane Gillis did a monologue on it. So now they're bringing attention
I had to
there.
look up what it was.
But I'm just going to play this. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to play this. This is one of the funniest jokes I've seen made at a award show maybe ever.
WNBA All-Star Brittany Hicks is here. Give it up for Brittany, everybody. I'm joking around. That's my friend's wife. I knew none of you knew WNBA players. That's crazy.
Roasted.
So this is his like podcast co-host. They have a podcast called Matt and Shane Secret Podcast, and this is his wife, who's African American, and they make jokes about it all the time. And she looks like Karine Jean-Pierre, funny enough. And they were in on this. The camera guy was in this. They sent it there, and everyone started clapping. Oh my gosh! If you watch the full thing, you could just tell they were not prepared. They didn't know who Shane Gillis was. They didn't know he was going to do this, and they were all scared about laughing because they didn't want a camera on them to hear them laughing at stuff that was even just mildly transgressive. And I love this for so many reasons because these award shows are so stupid.
Yeah.
And they're so dumb. They all get in the same room. They all pat each other on the back. They're all like, we're so great. Pat,
Get
pat,
super
pat.
drunk.
Awesome. Yeah. And then they bring up a comedian, quote unquote, to not be funny. And just to like, their jokes are actually like, oh, it just makes them look even better. Instead of actually making jokes about, it's like a court jester came back. Like Shane Gillis making fun of the fact that Bill Belichick's dating a 24-year-old in like his 70s. How has no one made jokes about this in a public forum? Like everyone's thinking it. There's so many things that just like everyone's thinking he finally said. And man, I mean, it was an uncomfortable watch for the audience, but everyone else was like, this is hysterical.
It was the best hosting of an event since, Ricky Gervais back at the 20th Golden Globes. We just
beautiful
barbecued people. I'll just every once in a while just go online and listen to that again every few months. It's so good.
Yeah.
He just literally toasts the whole audience.
It's like, and that's what comedy should be. We've all just accepted such a weird lower form of comedy. And Shane didn't hold back. So I'm happy to have it back. So before we get out of here, I think Erika and Josh, like you guys are free to hop. I'm going to now show that interview I did with Dr. Francis. And don't worry, I'll be back to pray with you guys after. So here's the Dr. Francis interview. Grateful to her for taking the time. Okay, today I'm joined by Dr. Christina Francis. She is an OBGYN who currently works in Fort Wayne, Indiana. She's a member of the Indiana Right to Life. She's a board member. She's part of AAPLOG, and she's here to talk to us specifically about movement Catholic Vote has been involved in, and from a medical perspective, what's going on with chemical abortion, mifepristone, and currently the Trump administration. So Dr. Francis, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks so much for having me on. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and I especially appreciate that you have real on-the-ground experience with patients, and mifepristone gets tossed around. I know that there was some movement with Planned Parenthood being banned from the Big Beautiful Bill from getting some funding. Mm-hmm. So I guess just to set the stage, why is it so important for you as a medical professional working with patients on the ground to see changes when it comes to safety regulations and mifepristone chemical abortion in general?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so as you said, I'm a board certified OBGYN and I do practice here in Indiana, and I work as an OB hospitalist, which means that I don't see patients in the office anymore, but I purely work in the hospital. So a lot of what I do is delivering babies and managing high-risk pregnancies. But the other part of my job is that I'm the one that gets called down to the emergency room when women come in with OB or GYN related emergencies. And even here in Indiana, where we have a very strong pro-life law that restricts almost all abortions, we've gotten rid of about 97% of abortions in the state of Indiana. Even with that, because of the deregulation of the abortion pill mifepristone by the FDA under first the Obama administration and then the Biden administration, we are still seeing regular complications related to women taking these drugs in our emergency rooms here in Indiana. So, just my group alone, and certainly we're not even the only group of OBGYNs here in Fort Wayne, we are seeing on nearly every shift, we will see a woman come in with some kind of complication related to mifepristone. And these are often very serious complications like infections, life-threatening infections. In fact, I took care of a woman recently with one such infection that required multiple days of IV antibiotics. retained tissue where they don't completely pass all of the baby or all of the placenta. And so they have retained tissue that requires potentially an emergency surgery, heavy bleeding requiring blood transfusions, things like that we're seeing on a really routine basis. And so that's part of why we're calling for more regulations to be put into place, because we would not allow this kind of complication rate to continue with any other drug if it had nothing to do with abortion. But it's simply because this is the abortion pill that the FDA in the past has said, it's fine for it to be so unregulated, and why the abortion industry and its allies, unfortunately, even within the medical community, continue to push for the deregulation of this dangerous drug.
Yeah, and as a doctor, I think at the heart of it, we would want proper care for women. Women's safety is tantamount. And I think right now, chemical abortion still makes up the largest percentage of abortion in the country. So clearly it's happening, and people are doing it.
Right.
I think what is confusing to some people is the language saying, coming from Planned Parenthood, is, hey, this is just as safe as Tylenol. This is just as safe as something you can get. I mean, clearly your experience on the ground is not matching this. And if you could explain, I believe the letter that was sent was to get safety regulations back to a 2000 level. What has happened since 2000? And if someone were to go through the process, unfortunately, of using mifepristone, what is in place today?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll try and do there's really a long kind of sordid history related to this drug. But I'll try to recap it very quickly. As you said, of course, those of us who are pro-life are opposed to abortion because it ends the life of an innocent child. But also, we care about our maternal patient as well, and we want her to be taken care of. And women are being placed in extreme danger right now, as you said, because they're being sold this lie that this high-risk drug is just as safe as Tylenol or other over-the-counter medications, when that simply is not true. So when this drug was originally approved in 2000, it was done through a rapid approval process under the Clinton administration to fulfill a campaign promise that he had made. And this process is typically reserved for life-saving drugs that are treating life-threatening conditions. So in order to approve mifepristone through this process, the FDA had to label pregnancy as a life-threatening disease. That's problem number one. Pregnancy is not, in general, a life-threatening disease, even though there can be complications. So it was approved through this rapid process, and partly because of that, the FDA recognized that this drug had significant potential serious complications. And so because of that, they put in place several safeguards around this drug, saying it could only be given through 7 weeks of pregnancy. Women had to have 3 in-person visits to get the drug, 1 before they were given the drug, and 2 follow-up visits to screen for complications and ensure that their abortion was complete. All adverse events had to be reported to the FDA, and only physicians could dispense this drug, and it had to be given in a healthcare facility. These eventually became known as something called the REMS program, which are applied to potentially very dangerous drugs to try to minimize their risk of side effects. And during the next several years, a black box warning was also applied to mifepristone because of the severe risk of infection and hemorrhage or heavy bleeding. Those remained in place until 2016. In 2016, again, under the Obama administration, several changes were made. One, they expanded the use of the drug up to 10 weeks of pregnancy. They also said those 2 follow-up visits, you don't need those anymore. Women only have to come for 1 visit before they get the drug. And at the same time, knowing that those 2 things in particular were going to increase the risk of complications significantly, they then said you no longer have to report any complication other than death if a woman dies. And then in 2021, under the Biden administration, they said, well, look, we made all these changes in 2016 and there was no significant increase in complications. Remember, they weren't requiring reporting of that anymore. And they used that as an excuse to remove that final in-person visit. And when they did that, that meant that now these drugs can be dispensed online. Many people say they're dispensed via telehealth. Really, I think that's even misleading. When people hear telehealth, I think they think a woman sitting down conversing with a physician like me. That's simply not the case. There are over 70 websites where women can go to the website, fill out a form with no screening for how far along they are, no ruling out of ectopic pregnancy, which is the leading cause of maternal mortality in the first trimester and is very common and can kill women if it's not treated. And it's not treated treated by mifepristone, and no screening for coercion either. And we're seeing the real life fallout of this, not only in my emergency room when I'm seeing complications, but there was a story out of Louisiana where a teen girl found herself pregnant, was actually excited after getting over, I'm sure, the shock of finding out she was pregnant, wanted to continue her pregnancy. Her mom didn't want her to. So her mom got online, ordered these drugs from a doctor in New York, and forced them on her teenage daughter, who then suffered such a severe complication she had to be taken to the emergency room. We have boyfriends who are forcing abortions on their girlfriends, unwanted abortions on their girlfriends. So we are seeing the real life fallout of this deregulation of this very high risk drug. And so, as you said, AAPLOG, the American Association of Pro-Life OBGYNs, which I am honored to lead, we led a letter. We were joined by 5 other medical organizations representing 30,000 medical professionals across the country. We led a letter to HHS and the FDA urging them to reinstate those original safeguards from 2000 so that women will be protected, and also urging them to add an ultrasound requirement. Ultrasound is extremely important for fully informed consent. So we know how far along a woman is in her pregnancy, we know she doesn't have an ectopic pregnancy, and so that she understands what's truly going on inside of her. So we're really hopeful that the FDA, Dr. Marty McCary, who's there, and Secretary Kennedy at HHS will be open to looking at the dangers of this drug. What precipitated this letter was not only what we're seeing in our clinical practices, but also there is new data that came out from the Ethics and Public Policy Center, as well as an organization called FFROA, that looked at over 860,000 chemical abortions from across the country using insurance claims data. And what they found was perfectly consistent with what we are seeing in our clinical practice. They found that nearly 1 in 9 women who take these drugs will suffer a serious complication related to the drug itself. 1 in 9. That is way higher than the complication rate related to taking Tylenol. And the other thing that I always like to point out about that comparison between mifepristone and Tylenol is that the complications we see related to Tylenol are related to overdoses of Tylenol. The complications that we're seeing related to mifepristone are due to taking the FDA-approved dose of mifepristone. So these are highly dangerous drugs, and women deserve to have all of that information before they make a choice about whether or not to take them.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Francis, if people want to be able to get involved and support and actually make more noise about this getting into place, how can they help?
Yeah, I think there's several different ways that people can help. First of all, I would they can follow AAPLOG on social media. They could follow, as you said, I know Catholic Vote is doing a lot related to chemical abortion. So follow us on social media and reshare our posts about the dangers of this drug. I think first and foremost, we need women who are considering abortion to understand the dangers of this drug for them and for their unborn child. Second, you can contact your member of Congress and ask them to contact HHS and FDA and ask them to reinstate these safeguards. And third, I would go online and contact HHS and FDA and say, as a concerned citizen, you are worried about the dangers that this drug is posing to women and girls across the country, and that you would urge them to, again, take another look into the safety of this drug. Ultimately, I think the safety needs to be fully reviewed, and this drug should be pulled from the market because of how dangerous it is to women. But at the very least, we're asking that these original safeguards be put back into place. So there's a number of different ways that you can do that. And I would encourage people to be involved in this process. The FDA needs to hear from you as a concerned citizen. Their job that they were tasked with by Congress was to ensure that any drug that's on the market is safe for people to take and is being dispensed in the safest way. And that's simply not the case with the abortion drug.
All right, gang. Thanks for joining today's episode. Covered a ton of ground. I'm here to do the closing prayer, but before, if you consider joining the Champions Club, it's the best way to support us, catholicvote.org/champions. If you want to support the show, leave a review. Apple Podcasts and Spotify helps us out a ton. You can email me, loopcast@catholicvote.org. But above all, pray for us, pray for the repose of the souls of those who have died in Gaza and that church, for that church community, for an end to the war, for peace in the world, and for the Loopcast. So we pray our closing prayer today in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Blessed apostles, St. Paul, greatest of all converts, who labored unceasingly for the conversion of other souls, inspire me with the ardor of your zeal that I may pray and work for the conversion of my brethren, redeemed in the blood of Christ, but not as yet blessed with the full light of his truth, mindful of the loving concern of the divine shepherd for the salvation of the other sheep that are not of this fold. I now beg your intercession to obtain the grace of conversion for, you can fill that one in, name of family member, friend, or others. May God, the Holy Spirit, from whom alone this gift can come, hear my humble prayer and thus enable me to share with others the riches of my heritage of faith through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Thank you guys for joining. In the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Great show. We'll catch you guys on Monday.